Did you know Will Byers was originally supposed to kill Bob Newby in Stranger Things Season 2? Well, those are the type of facts that I will be talking about in today's video. Over the past few weeks, I have scoured the internet, making it my mission to find the most unique facts about the best Netflix original of all time, which is of course, Stranger Things. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into this video. 1. Stranger Things is actually based on real life. In the 1980s, a project called the Montauk Project, which was ran by the CIA, would test on humans with certain drugs, and it eventually got shut down when it became public. This is where the Duffer brothers got the idea for the plot of Stranger Things. 2. Stranger Things was rejected over 15 different times from 15 different networks. Originally, they had the show centered around Jim Hopper, but once they changed the script and centered the show around the kids instead of Jim Hopper, it got approved almost immediately. 3. Steve Harrington was originally supposed to die in Season 1, but the Duffers realized how good Joe Keery was on set and ultimately decided to keep him in the show. Without Steve Harrington, I don't know where Stranger Things would be today. 4. There is a 30-page document dedicated to the Upside Down lore. This is why in multiple interviews, the Duffer brothers have mentioned that there is still so much more to explore about the Upside Down that fans don't know about yet. And this just makes the wait for Season 5 that much more exciting. 5. In Season 1, during the bathtub scene, Millie Bobby Brown actually was floating in that makeshift deprivation tank. In fact, the production crew put in over 1,200 pounds of actual salt into the tub in order to film the scene. 6. The scene where young Eleven flipped over the van was actually very real. Well, not the 11 part of course, but the actual van flipping over. The van had 2 nitrogen sleeves that fired a high-density plastic slug out of the bottom of them to push up the van into the air. It was things like this that the production crew did that made the show so iconic in its early seasons. 7. Whenever Millie Bobby Brown read the Hopper letter, those were real tears coming out of her eyes. Millie said in an interview that she did not want to read the letter until they filmed the real scene so all of her emotions would be genuine. So that's exactly what she did. Obviously, she went the right route with that decision because it made the scene that much more emotional. And personally, I think that's the most emotional scene in the entire show. 8. Season 4 took years to film. It had over 9 different scripts and over 800 pages. Along with that, the season was filmed during a global pandemic and it had thousands of visual effects shots. And of course, it had the longest run times of any other season. And this is why, in my opinion, Season 4 is the best season so far. 9. Most of Vecna was created without CGI. Jamie Campbell, who played Vecna, had to sit through a prosthetic process that usually lasted anywhere from 5 to 9 hours in order to look like Vecna. And then he would obviously have to act for the rest of the day. So props to Jamie Campbell for giving that much effort for Season 4. That's probably why it was the best. And it's definitely why Vecna is an awesome villain. 10. After the release of Stranger Things 4, Running Up That Hill went straight to the #1 spot on the Billboard Top 10. And what's even crazier about that is back in 1985, the song originally peaked at number 30 upon its release. So Stranger Things 4 really made the song that much more popular than it ever was before, even in the 80s. It's crazy the effect that Stranger Things has on the real world. 11. Joseph Quinn really played the guitar when filming the Master Puppet scene. He said the Duffer brothers originally asked him if he knew how to play guitar. So in the early stages of filming, he immediately went home after he was asked that question, bought a guitar, and started taking lessons. 12. Over 1,000 kids auditioned for the show. In fact, exactly 1,213 children tried to get the roles of the kids in Stranger Things. And Gaten Matarazzo, who plays Dustin Henderson, was actually signed up immediately after the casting directors watched his audition tape. They said as soon as they watched it, they knew he was the perfect fit for Dustin. 13. Stranger Things was almost named something else. Like I mentioned earlier, the show is based off the real Montauk Project, so the original name for the show during the beginning stages of brainstorming was indeed Montauk. Personally, I'm glad they went with Stranger Things because people are more likely to click on that than they are Montauk in my opinion. 14. And same with the Upside Down. In the original scripts, it wasn't actually named the Upside Down. In fact, the Duffers originally had it named the Nether. And for us Minecraft fans, it would have been very weird watching a show based in the 1980s have a world called the Nether. So I'm glad they went with the Upside Down. 15. 11 was almost a boy, and this would have changed the show drastically, obviously. Even Mike's love interest would have changed. Instead of ending up with 11 in the show, Mike would have ended up with Hopper's daughter, Sarah, which not only would have changed 11's storyline, but it also would have changed Hopper's storyline because Sarah is a huge part of his past. So I'm glad 11 ended up being a girl. 16. The roller skate that 11 hit Angela with was originally supposed to be a golf club. In fact, that entire scene was supposed to be filmed at a mini golf course. But the Duffer said the noise of the interstate nearby ended up making them scrap that idea. 17. 11 was originally supposed to kill her own mother, Terry Ives, in season 2. This would have been a moment that would have made the show a lot darker, and the Duffers ultimately ended up deciding to scrap that idea as well. It was written to be a moment where 11 would have put her own mother out of her own misery. I've said this before, but I think I would have wanted this to happen because it would have made the show a lot darker, and the dark moments in the show, in my opinion, are the best moments. 18. Eggo waffle sales increased by over 15% worldwide whenever season 1 of Stranger Things premiered. One of the most defining scenes with 11 was in the first season when she went into the grocery store and grabbed 5 boxes of Eggos and stormed out. Little did they know, this scene would end up making the Eggo franchise alive and thriving for years to come. 19. Max Mayfield was originally supposed to die in season 4, but ultimately the Duffers decided to take her story a different route after they explored how much of a fan favorite she is. So I'm excited what they have in store for her in season 5. 20. Joseph Quinn filmed most of his scenes before the guitar was ever implemented into the season 4 scripts. After most of the filming was done with season 4, the Duffers went back and wrote in all of the guitar scenes with Eddie. And this is how the Master of Puppets concert originally came about. I'm very glad the Duffers revised the scripts and added the guitar scenes, because that Master of Puppets concert is one of the best moments in the entire show. 21. Though Stranger Things never explains where in Indiana the town of Hawkins actually is located, one of the spin-off novels of Stranger Things suggests that it's near Bloomington, Indiana. And Bloomington, Indiana is where Indiana University is located. Which it's kind of crazy because my whole entire career revolves around Stranger Things and I'm not too far away from Bloomington, Indiana. 22. In season 3 episode 4, Dacre Montgomery improvised a lot of the sauna scene, including where he headbutts the window. You can see when watching the scene back that the kids are genuinely surprised that he willingly did that out of nowhere. This just shows the dedication that Dacre had to Billy's character, and that's why it was so good. 23. In season 2, we all know that 11 only opens the door to Hopper's cabin if she hears that secret knock. Well, did you know that secret knock in Morse code actually means us? It's little details like this that make the show so dang good. 24. Millie Bobby Brown actually isn't a fan of Eggos. She said that she would much rather have some avocado toast for breakfast rather than waffles. Honestly, Millie, I'm right there with you. 25. The way the Upside Down is portrayed in Stranger Things is very similar to how hell is portrayed in Japanese folklore and anime. This explains why the Duffers announced one of the Stranger Things spin-offs to be an anime spin-off. 26. Joe Keery was actually 23 years old in the first season of Stranger Things when he played a teenager Steve Harrington. And in season 5, he will be 32 years old portraying a 22 or 23-year-old. I don't know how Joe Keery does it, but he's 32 and he looks like he's 22 in real life. 27. In season 4 episode 9, whenever Lucas yelled, "Erica, we need an ambulance," that specific line was actually completely improvised by Caleb McLaughlin. This is yet another example of how talented the cast of Stranger Things actually is, and it made that scene that much more emotional. 28. Dacre Montgomery had to tone down his six-pack for the role of Billy Hargrove. He was too shredded to play an 80s teenager, they said. It was unrealistic for a bodybuilder back then to look that good. So Dacre, of course, ended up putting on a few pounds. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be told that you're too shredded to play a role. Props to Dacre Montgomery for taking care of his body. 29. In season 1, Hopper says the worst thing to happen Hawkins is an owl to attack Eleanor Gillespie's. Well, Alessa Gillespie is a character from Silent Hill, and her character in Silent Hill has a very traumatic childhood and she even has psychic powers. This is obviously very similar to 11's storyline in Stranger Things. 30. David Harbour decided to take a method acting approach to Hopper's character in season 1. Not only did he do things like eat donuts and be lazy to prepare for the role, but he also wanted to be as intimidating as possible to the kids. So when he first met the kids, he isolated himself from them. So when they were filming the scenes, he looked more intimidating and more genuine. I'd say out of almost any actor in Stranger Things, David Harbour definitely took his role the most serious. 31. Another fact about David Harbour is whenever he watched the scene where he and Joyce saved Will in the Upside Down for the first time in season 1, he actually cried when watching it. He said it felt like he was actually watching Hopper and not himself acting and being Hopper. I think this is a moment where David Harbour literally proved how good of an actor he actually is. 32. In the original scripts of Stranger Things, 11 was supposed to be much more powerful, but the Duffers did not want the show to be too dark, so they toned it down just a bit. It makes you wonder how much more powerful she actually would have been, and personally I think we will see that in season 5. 33. For some of these scenes in Hawkins' lab, Millie Bobby Brown was actually fully submerged underwater, but she was fully able to breathe by wearing a Seas Trek helmet which weighs approximately 70 pounds above water. The things they did to make these scenes in Stranger Things is what makes the show so great. 34. In season 1, the child actors were receiving around $30,000 per episode, and in season 5, just for that season, they will all make well over $5 million in total. Another example of how successful the show has been. 35. Whenever Steve and Dustin were throwing down meat in season 2 to attract Dart to their makeshift trap, this quote-unquote meat was actually mostly watermelon. 36. In the original scripts of Stranger Things, Bob Newby was actually supposed to be more of a lowlife similar to Lonnie Byers, but Sean Astin's performance ultimately changed the Duffer's mind. I kinda like that because if it would have been more similar to Lonnie Byers, Bob Newby's storyline would have been much more predictable. 37. In Stranger Things season 2, whenever Billy was flirting with Karen Wheeler, a lot of the scene was actually improvised by Dacre Montgomery, including the moment where he decided to pick up a cookie and randomly start eating it in the middle of the scene. 38. The scene in season 2 of Stranger Things where Billy fought his stepdad was actually suggested by Dacre Montgomery. He said everyone should have a reason why they are the way they are. He didn't want Billy to be a bad person for no reason, so they portrayed how he didn't have a very good home life or a very good father figure. 39. In the pilot scripts of Stranger Things, Benny's Burger was originally supposed to be a fish and chip diner. Luckily for Millie Bobby Brown, they didn't do this, because in those original scripts, they had a scene where starving 11 would have bit a head off of a raw fish in Benny's diner. I'm sure when Millie Bobby Brown found out this, she was very relieved. 40. The season 2 subplot where Steve teams up with Dustin and becomes the quote-unquote babysitter was not in the original scripts for season 2. In fact, the writers did not come up with that idea until 4 episodes were completely finished. It's crazy how such an iconic storyline was made up just out of thin air when they were already finished with half of the season. This just shows how talented the writers of Stranger Things actually are. 41. Sean Astin enjoyed Stranger Things season 1 so much that he actually personally reached out to the Stranger Things producers himself in hope of getting a part in season 2. He was obviously successful in doing that and became one of the most beloved one-season wonders in Stranger Things history. 42. Contrary to popular beliefs, the Duffers have always had a very good idea of how Stranger Things will end. Even from the very beginning of writing the scripts for season 1, the basis of the ending has always been the same. And I would imagine this means that the basis of the storyline has always been the same as well. 43. The Duffers intentionally decided to take Eleven's powers away at the end of Stranger Things 3 to add more tension. They were very mindful of the fact that Eleven's powers had saved everyone in the previous 2 finales, and they did not want the end of each season to be the same. I am personally very glad they ended up going this route because it makes it more unpredictable. 44. After Stranger Things Season 1 premiered, Ross Duffer in an interview said he found it funny how the Department of Energy in real life issued a statement highlighting the importance of their work and that how they are not actually evil people in real life. Personally, I find it very funny that they felt the need to clarify that after a fictional show portrayed otherwise. Things like that just make you wonder. 45. The cemetery scene between Billy and Max in the iconic Dear Billy episode was in jeopardy of not making it to screen because of COVID-19. So they ended up having to film the scene on 2 separate continents. Billy was in Australia filming his part, and Max was in America filming her part. But when you're watching the scene, it doesn't seem like that at all. Thank God for editing, am I right? 46. In the original outline of the pilot, the opening hook was supposed to be that the scientist was burning alive. In the shooting script, it was changed to the scientist being hunted, chased, and then killed off by an off-screen monster, which is obviously what happened. Personally, I honestly think I would have wanted these scientists burning alive. It would have made it that much more exciting. 47. Eleven's character is heavily inspired by Stephen King's novel called Firestarter. Firestarter is about a little girl named Charlie with powerful psychic abilities. These abilities were gained from her parents who were involved in the MK Ultra program, very similar to Eleven's storyline in Stranger Things. 48. Season 2 was almost a completely different story, because the Duffers wrote the first season of Stranger Things to be a standalone complete story as a limited series. One idea the brothers had for Season 2 was to make Stranger Things an anthology series, like American Horror Story, and introduce an entirely new storyline with different characters. Another idea was to do a sequel set many years later, in the 1990s of course, with the main kids returning to Hawkins as adults. I know they said they wouldn't do it, but it makes you wonder if that's still in the back of their mind. For a future spin-off, of course. 49. In Season 4 of Stranger Things, Argyle was driving the pizza van, which was actually a stick shift in real life. This meant that Eduardo Franco, who played Argyle, had to learn how to drive a stick shift vehicle. Before his experience with Stranger Things, he never knew how to drive a stick shift. Props to Eduardo Franco for learning that for Stranger Things, and he did one heck of a job. 50. The final fact I chose for this video is personally my favorite one, and it's also a 2-for-1 fact as well. Not only did the creators of the Upside Down lore confirm that it was indeed created by 11, but the Upside Down isn't set in 1983. In fact, it is simply just a snapshot of the exact moment when Will was taken, which happened to be in 1983. This was 50 Stranger Things facts you didn't know. If you want more videos like this, consider dropping a like and subscribing, and if you enjoyed it, please share this video with a friend. And the best way to support me outside of YouTube is to check out my new website called Relay.News. On this website, I have a free newsletter that I release every single Sunday with a Stranger Things theory, fun fact, discussion, and Stranger Things 5 filming update. You can just go on my website, type in your email, and click submit, and you will receive a free newsletter every single week. On top of that, I do have a Discord, link in description, where I talk Stranger Things every single day with all of you guys. Thank you all for the love and support that you continue to give me, and I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.